active ingredient in caffeine makes you focus without the jitters. No caffeine.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Like green tea, like theanine kind of thing?
No, it's something called paraxanthine. I have no idea.
You don't even know what's going on in your body.
Kevin from the supplement company is like, try this, it's great. I trust him. Like, you got it.
It's got methamphetamine in it. That's great.
I took apart my dishwasher this morning at 2 a.m. and put it back together, but it's probably unrelated.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, we're live. Oh, by the way.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, we're just talking drugs,
Yeah. Hop on board, everyone. It's fun. It's all the cool kids are doing it.
That's right. All the kids are doing it. You got to do it. I have done so much caffeine, and I used to sell a drug that would actually, my biotech days, John, way back when, I sold a drug called Provigil or modafinil, which is all the rage on college campuses, apparently. it like allows you to stay up for, there was a study that was done in the military. They kept all these like pilots awake for 72 hours straight. And after 48 hours, there was no drop off in all their cognitive tests. That's how good this drug is. So
I want some of that.
I know.
Jeez.
You can get it. Everything's gettable these days.
Yeah.
Anyway, today we're going to be talking. Yeah, whatever it takes. The early days building this thing I did take it quite a bit, actually.
I don't blame you.
I know. You know how it is. Like,
right.
4 or 5 hours a night sleep, maybe, if you're lucky.
Yeah, maybe.
Little kids. All right. Well, we're getting into 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night here. That's just like a regular day for you because you just live, eat, and breathe all things digital marketing, all things advertising. And today is going to be a pretty cool episode. It's no exception because we're going to be revealing some super cool stuff with Meta, as we've talked about here a couple of times.
Yep.
Recently, I don't know what you guys talked about the last couple of weeks when I was in Italy, but anyway, we're getting back to basics here, back to Meta. And if you don't know who John is, John Moran, who is here on the show, flannel shirt guy, John's sort of known as a Google Ads guy. It's like you're sort of like that was your thing. But I've always said like John is so much more than just a Google Ads guy. John is the consummate marketer who understands all platforms and how they all work together and all the stuff that's not paid too.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about getting together and you coming over to Tier 11 and joining forces with us, I was just like, yeah, I mean, he's not going to be doing any Meta stuff. You're like, oh yeah, I've been experimenting with Meta. I've figured it all out. And now you figured out stuff that even like some of the top media buyers in the space are still yet to figure out. But you're actually testing it out, trialing it out. We're seeing results right now, which is super cool. And that's why we do these shows to sort of lift the veil, open the kimono, educate on what's actually going on in the crazy ad lab here, which I don't know if we've done our rebranding yet, but
anyway. We're hopping back into the RV with Walter White into the meth lab, and we're gonna start doing some cool stuff.
Yep, and that is the outgrowth. That's what we show here. So anyway, today's show is all about Meta, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So Meta, it's interesting. I've talked to some fairly large companies recently, and it's kind of shocking how they will most often not necessarily believe like their Meta reps, or maybe I guess like adoption slow. I don't know why. And I think that's sometimes why everything is like so weird and shocking when something comes out and everyone has to change strategies, because everyone's like, I've been using this strategy for 2 years. I like it. I don't want to change. I'm going to fight against the current. And that kind of seems to be like the SOP. So what I like to do is try to deconstruct it and figure out how to leverage it. And that's kind of what my specialty is. Right. So if you have not been aware, by June 25th is the deadline where what Meta is trying to achieve is pushing everybody into one campaign type, which is Advantage Plus Sales. It used to be called Advantage Plus Shopping. You had manual campaigns, and Advantage Plus Sales is kind of the only thing that they will allow you to create. Now, you still have your targeting options, even though they're considered optional. And then you have your exclusions, which are also kind of considered optional. So essentially, Meta's moving towards what they call creative targeting. So I've been testing this a bunch, but what I wanted to provide today is a real locked in experiment. So we only run Google brand for them. We're only on one campaign type in Meta. We've only been really running Meta since January 1st. So I have like a really good locked in use case, and I've kind of deconstructed how I believe Meta's recommendation of a one campaign, one ad set, all creative campaign type that they want us to all use called Advantage Plus Sales. And I'll tell you actually some of their legitimately smart, accurate reasons as to why. And I think that once we start to understand the why, it makes people a lot easier to adopt. Because if I just say, hey, remember or forget everything you understand, you know about Meta and do it this way, you're probably going to give me a big old middle finger because it's like, I this works for me. But things are transition. We are right now in the transition period. And what the transition period looks like is I'm going to share screen here and I'm going to pull up a different account and I want to show you something that is actually kind of crazy.
So this is the account that we were talking about earlier today. This is small ad spend, just starting. So one of the
things, this has been running for at least 6 months already, but we just started the new way. Yep. Got it.
But still small ad spend. What, couple $1,000 a month?
We spent $6,000 all year. I mean, it's only $1,000 a month. So I like this because I can really see a lot of big movement because everything's isolated. If I was having like 16 campaigns, $500,000 in ad spend, 1 million returning customers, little tests kind of get lost in the weeds. So I like testing little when I can know that this is the only thing that could have moved that number over there. So at least I have some really accurate testing that I can extrapolate into larger accounts.
Right. Plus, a lot of people that are watching this, they might not have accounts that are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a day like we do. So like this is like, if you're just starting or you have a moderate ad spend under 10 grand, this is a great case study for that. But also it allows you to really get granular and see exactly what's going on. And that's the cool part about this.
And we most often figured out that what works for the really large companies kind of won't work for the small. But what works for the small always works for the large. So it kind of covers the whole encompassing.
That's great. That's a great point, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can exemplify it here, just imagine what it could do at massive scale.
Yeah. And we actually doubled the budget this week, and I already have something that I can show for that. So it's cool. I have a nice big test, but we got 20 minutes. I'm gonna dive right into it before we go into Q&A. I'll go slow and methodical, but I want to kind of point out some really important things. So if you're running a Meta account, if you click on the create button and you click sales, if your account has not switched over yet, you can still act like it has because it is not forcing you that way, but it still can operate that way. If you have not switched over, when you click sales and hit click continue, you'll still get the option of would you like to do an ADB shopping, which is now turning into ADB sales, or a manual campaign, and you're going back to your manual setup. However, if you are in an account that has switched over, let me just reopen that close window. If you're in an account that has switched over, you click create, you click sales, and then it waits like 5 seconds longer and skips the manual creation and locks you right into Advantage Plus only, and you are good to go. Gave you 100%. All right, cool. You're good to go. So I wanted to show that. So people are like, no, there's no switch. I still see it. You're lying. We're in the transition period. Exactly. It will be here. Just trust us.
Their drop dead, they have not been very unclear on when that drop date is. This is typical Meta, but it will be within the next couple of months. I mean, you sort of have some insider information here. Is that accurate?
I know an engineer, and they said basically by the 25th, just expect that. I'm like, okay, so we got about basically 20 or 19 days left. So this is what's nice. You get a couple week head start. So this is what the campaign type Meta wants you to use, which is the ADB campaign. So ADB sales is all encompassing. It can be lead generation. It can be DPA ads for shopping. It could be your videos, motion graphics, gifts, everything. So it's all in one campaign. So I said, okay, let's leverage it. Let's figure out how this works. Let's deconstruct it and figure out how to scale it. So what's interesting is this is since January 1st. So since January 1st, all the way up until 3 days ago, and I did 3 days ago so I can match spend in my example, you'll see that we had a $4,000 worth of our standard type of campaign. We're selling $120, $130 products. They're gloves. We're getting $42 in-app CPA. All right, not bad. Then we ran a Mother's Day sale. In the Mother's Day sale, we spent another $1,000 and got $33 CPAs. Good. And then we were testing out the way that Meta wants us to do. So we spent yet another $1,000. And now we're getting $13 CPAs. Much better than the 40. Better than almost 3 times as good as our Mother's Day sale. And this thing has only been running for about like 3 weeks. So this campaign type is utilizing what Meta is going to be forcing everyone into in creative targeting. So I actually, in this campaign's ad set or even the campaign itself, we basically are just optimizing for website purchases, purchase events, standard event. We do not do any sort of CAPI imports, no cost cap goal. We have our engaged and existing customers. I don't have an existing customer cap. I'm just letting this thing run wide open, no targeting, no exclusions, and let's see what this thing can do.
Beautiful.
And it asks us to put all of our creative in one big ad set. And we have 57, you're capped at 50 ads. So that's the most you can run at once. Now, what we wanted to do with this one is understand how Meta is working. So what I'm looking at here is May 14th through May 20th. This is the first week we launched. And what I noticed is these ads, we were not spending that much. I have my spend column here. I have my results here, and I have my cost per result. So we have some campaigns that are spending $59 and some campaigns that are ads that are spending $59 and some ads that are spending $6. But now we are still getting results on them. However, we're seeing the typical, you give it too many ads, it likes 2 or 3, and then it's going to force spend on it. Our normal SOP is like, okay, that's overspent. Pause that one. Let's redistribute. Let's run ABO. Kind of finding out why the reason why we shouldn't be doing that is kind of what I figured out there this last week. And I'll share the results. So in the first week, when we look at the compare attribution settings, we can see that the ad spend is being delivered most often to the ads that have click attributed conversions. Makes sense,
right?
View is good, but we want clicks, and you'll get some onesie twosies every now and then if you scroll down. But obviously, you can see the majority of the ad spend is spending on people who are clicking. And then I said, okay, if that is the case, then what I should see the week afterwards is much more click attributed over here. Because here's my hypothesis. I believe Meta is going to spend the most amount of money on where they see instantaneous success from the people who are clicking.
Sure.
But the people who are not buying after they click, they're being shown other ads in that ad set. The reason why Meta wants all ads in one ad set, and the reason why it wants creative to do the targeting, is because it's trying to build a little mini funnel. And if you all remember I think a few weeks ago when I shared the 10 pieces of creative that Meta wants us to utilize, which is why here in the tier 11 Slack, this is back on May 9th. So we're already basically a month after that, but it wants all of these pieces of creative inside of one ad set so that it can go through and start to tell a story. Here's who we are. So why we're different. It's what the product is. It's what people believe about us. This is the features and benefits of it. This is face to camera, which is a different campaign type. Whitelisting, other people are even saying we're amazing. This is positioning tests inside of like the ecosystem and also UGC. So they don't all have a particular reason why you would create them, but Meta wants you to have content diversification. So the content diversification, we believe, is because of this rule or this theory here, that it's going to start to show ads to the users who are clicking and say, hey, you're clicking, you're buying. The people who are not buying, did you know all of this other things? Like, hey, this, after 1,000 days, this is what the glove looks like. This is, how we sew our gloves twice. This is, a cool picture that ended up working. This is how we actually, this is where our plant is made in the United States, right here in Vermont since 1920. So now you're like, oh, all right, these are pretty cool things. Like, it's not just like 30% off, 20% off sale. Want to buy it today? Come on. We are educating you. And that's
you were getting awareness about this product, which is a premium priced product.
Yeah.
You're going to get some clicks and buys. Those are probably people that are warm traffic audience is probably aware of the solution in this particular case, this particular type of glove.
Yeah.
However, you would expect Meta to go out and capture them immediately, which is what we're seeing right here. However, not everyone's going to be like that. Not everyone's like in market to buy Well, the vast majority are in that, that zone of indifference. I don't really know much about it. I've got good gloves right now. I don't really need new gloves. I need to be educated.
Yeah. And it's the funnel again.
It's the
You got
funnel.
cold, medium, or it's the same
We're
thing.
not explaining anything groundbreaking here, but we're just saying
Yeah.
not everybody is ready to buy.
Right.
So how are you going to expand that market? And Meta has been saying this for a long time.
Mhm.
Just throw them all in and we'll figure it all out.
Yeah.
It hasn't really worked up until right now.
Yeah. And what's funny is Meta's so smart, because if I hop onto Meta, or if I hop onto Instagram and I see nothing but 10% off, 30% off, BOGO, I mean, now it's just like I'm just getting the crap kicked out of me. I'm not actually discovering anything. I'm just getting sale ads. So they don't want that. They don't want the user experience to drop. They want you to learn, grow, and engage.
They're assuming that you're ready to buy. Like that's a bottom of funnel, middle of funnel, whatever you want to call it. It's like people don't necessarily do what you want them to do. Like there is going to be top of funnel people that are going to buy on that, but the vast majority probably are not.
Yeah.
Right. So this all makes sense.
So then we said, okay, if I see a whole bunch of 1-day engage view conversions, it means that the people who are engaging here that are now being shown ads, I would expect, if this is what Meta is doing, I expect to now start to see click engage conversions over here in this column, which means they are clicking and buying. The people who have not bought are now being shown other ads, and they are view engage conversions, but I should see more click engage conversions next week. So far, I see one here and nothing else. So now let's fast forward the next week.
So if you're following along, you're hearing the audio of this. What we just showed.
Oh, sorry. I forgot.
May 14th to the 20th. Inside Meta, you've got 2 ads, which are basically scooping up all the bottom of funnel conversions, probably because they're from the warm traffic audience. But all the other ads, the other 50 that you have in there, you uploaded 57 and only 50 would show. The other ones are all getting some kind of engagement, but not really any click conversions yet.
Only engaged, or so only view conversions, right? Like remarketing almost.
Right.
Yeah. Sound like kind of like remarketing. And so I said, okay, that if that remarketing of new users is going to work well, I hope they start converting. And so I'm expecting to see it the week afterwards. So let's fast forward 1 week. We went from 14th to the 20th. Now we're going to look at the 21st through the 27th. And now we see exactly what we were expecting. Now we're starting to see the same ads in the next week. Not only do my first 2 have still click engage conversions, but now I went from 1 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have now kind of 5 rows of click engage conversions. But if we scroll down now, further down, I'm seeing. So here, I'm seeing none down here still. And I'm seeing really nothing in the reach, which means if I look at the people who are spending less than like $3, I'm not really seeing anything. And that makes sense. They're only spend less than $1 on the majority of the ads. Again, we would say, hey, pause those. We would start to kill things that aren't spending. However, if we look at the entirety of this campaign all the way up until yesterday, this is what it looks like now. Now, every row has at least 1 click engage conversion, 2, 7, 534, 5. And now I'm seeing 7-day click conversions roll in on almost every ad, whether we spent $600 on it or $18. Now, if I scroll down from here, I'm now sub $10, but I'm still seeing a click engage conversion. I'm click engage conversion, a click, all the way down to where I'm spending now $1.21. I get a view engage conversions. If I spend $2, I can see a click engage conversion, but it might have taken 28 days. We start seeing the X and Y axis of the longer amount of time and the more ads, the more engagement you're getting on them. Every media buyer is like 3 days. If it's not spending, kill it. Like we are fighting against what Meta is trying to do. So now I now have a bunch of click engage conversions. And because it's going down in my spend, my CPA for these ads here, my cost per result is $15, $14, $12, $12, $15, $17, $7, $19, $3, $18, all the way down into like 5, 4, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1. Okay, so why is it now that the campaign that has all the ads is now actually beating my other campaign I ran for 5 months trying to optimize, and this is beating it by 75% less cost per acquisition? Okay, so now let's say, fine, John. Okay, it's not at CAC import. I have no idea if these are cold. I have no idea if these are returning. Prove it. Okay, So I said, you know what? I'm going to
How'd
throw
you know I was
100%.
going to ask you that?
I know, right? Because I would ask.
You're just recycling old users. People have bought, I don't know, one of their other products at one point in time, John.
Exactly.
These
So I
aren't
said,
new
all right.
customers. They can't possibly be.
Exactly. So I said, you know what? Let's test this. Let's take it from a amount spent of $45 a day and let's crank it up to $150 a day. So let's triple the budget in a week. So I see my amount spent go up in this last 14 days.
You're a gambling man.
I am. So I see my conversions kind of go through. This is after Memorial Day. All of a sudden, boop, pop right back up. So now I'm having the best day according to Meta the last 3 days that I have been spending the highest the last 3 days. In my campaign of brand, this is the last 14 days.
Okay.
So my brand campaign, because in my brand campaign, I went from spending $14 to make $250, and then I peaked to $129 to make $1,400.
How is that possible? That's over on Google. They're not related, John.
I know, right?
Says Ralph.
Exactly. So now at this last 14, exactly, right? So last 14 days, I have gone up and increased my cost from $280 to $530. So I spent an additional $300 and made an additional $2,200. Okay. So if I'm pushing into cold, I should see more branded conversions. And then let's check the week over week new customers. We went from 523 to 529. We had 100 new customers, 104, 523 and 529. That is 523 to 529. Okay. Then let's look at the next week of 530 to 65, which is now the 530 to 65, where we scaled up. Also in Google Ads, 530 to 65, when we saw our brand starting to capture. And now we have 157 new customers. So we went from 104 to 157. That is 104. That is 53 more new customers. 53 more new. Our total investment is $300 more plus an additional, I'd say like maybe $1,000 more, or yeah, probably about $1,000 more ish. Let me just check last 7 days compared. Yeah. Oh, so 350. So we did 750. Yeah. Okay. So 350 plus 3. So $650 more dollars total in. 650 soup to nuts, everything. The $650 in that brought us 53 more new customers. 650 divided by 53 is $12.26. And if we look at our analytics of our AOV, we have $110 AOV.
That's not too bad.
No. So that's basically almost like an incremental 10x on a tiny little company. If you don't know how else to prove this.
It's very clear to me, but I think that a lot of the viewers might have to watch this a couple of times. But yeah, the bottom line is this, is like you proved with my sarcastic comments, like, John, you're just recycling your old customers. You proved beyond a shadow of a doubt using the CRM, and they don't have data suite. They don't have CAPI import. They don't have anything. This is early stage stuff. This is just really relying on literally like tiny ad spend on Google. Yeah. But a little bit more ad spend, obviously, on Meta. But Meta is the one that's driving everything forward here. And you proved it by going into the back end of Shopify, say, these are new customers that I'm getting for $12.26. Was that what it was?
Yeah, $12.26. And when I look at even one more additional layer of fun, if we look inside of the first click channel in the last 7 days, as an example, Facebook has 11. Google paid us 30. Yep. So 11, and I'm only running brand. So it's kind of interesting to see 30 and 5, but we have 30 plus 11 and then direct 64. And the week before that, we had, 8 and 16. So, and not even direct. And you can see there's not a massive amount of existing customers. Okay. Right. Like there's nothing. We actually had more returning customers than I think we had new in like Klaviyo, which makes a lot of sense. So it's kind of cool that I can even see all the way down to the sub levels. The only thing that are growing are Facebook paid and Google paid, which I know is non-brand Facebook and branded Google. They both lifted. I put $350 in each and then got $12 new customers at 60 in the first week of testing this. So, I mean,
AOV of what? 125,
109. Yeah.
109. Okay.
Yeah. And these gloves will last 20 years. Like we don't really have a lot of returning customers. They might buy another pair like once in a while, but it's not just like something people are coming back every month and subscribing. This is like I'm making $100 sales, $120 sales, $110 sales with $12 nCACs, and I can double the budget in a week, all with one campaign, one ad set, no targeting, no exclusions, all of the ads, and let this thing run wild.
What's an allowable nCAC for this one?
45.
45. So you're 4 times below that. So you have massive amounts to scale. So that's the top end. That includes gross profitability, some OpEx, and then desired margin. Do you add that in there as well? Desired net profitability?
Not yet.
Not yet. Not that.
So I'm helping the son who inherited the company from his father. And so
sorting it all out.
Those are things that what's nice is this is a very, very efficiently run business because it's been a business for 20 years. Right. It's never really gone digital though. So that's what's kind of nice is we're kind of starting from scratch. I know.
Don't you think?
Yeah. So like their costs and their OpEx and all that stuff has been really hammered out to like no ad spend. So if I come in and make sure that incremental cost that's costing the company to acquire more is very small, it's gorgeous.
Those are some of the most exciting companies to work with.
I know. It's so rewarding.
Like you have a very successful business offline. You've proven the fact that the market wants what you have.
Yep.
Okay. But you have yet to break into the online world. There's not that many businesses that are in that situation, but you would be surprised at how many actually are. But the point is that you've already proven out the offer. Like the offer is the big thing. It's like, does the market actually want it? So this is much different than, hey, this is a startup. Hey, we're going to try and sell these things online the first time ever. We don't have any sales. We don't have any sales history.
Yeah.
You've got some history here of what products sell the best.
Yeah. And if we look at the top line too, like you're saying, this is last 30 days year over year. I mean, you can't fake 120 or 130% more orders and 115% more, 120% more gross sales, 113% more net sales.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cranking. So
I mean every day of the week. Yeah. I mean, unless you have horrible profitability and massive cost of goods sold, like 120 AOV with a $12 nCAC, you're winning.
I know. And it's so funny because it's like we have to sell $120 gloves. And it's like, but I'm going to give you $50 a day on Meta. Go figure it out. And it's like, and that's what's funny is like this crap is working if we just understand the platforms and how to leverage them, not fight
think about that. Like go on Amazon, search for work gloves. Like you can buy work gloves for like $10, $12.
Oh yeah.
Like the Ace Hardware
Walmart,
down the street.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like you're talking about a 10x premium and you're doing it with just 50 different ads, in essence, creating a digital funnel inside a Meta campaign for Advantage Plus shopping or Advantage Plus sales. I keep saying ASC. It's Advantage Plus sales now. Like this is actually what they've been promising for years and years. And now you're actually starting to see it. And this is cool because it's like on such a small scale and like the scalability of this account is insane.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even the hammock company that I reference sometimes, we've been doing the same methodology for the hammock company. And, just to reiterate, because I think this is how I shared how to do creative testing in this new environment. So I think that was important for everyone to see.
Yeah.
And remember that example? I don't remember. It was back in April. Well, since then, again, we have not deviated from the strategy because I believe that longevity is important.
And this is for a company that sells very, very high end, similar kind of like bespoke hammocks.
$4,000 and $5,000 hammocks.
$4,000 or $5,000 hammocks. You're not going to buy. There's no, I mean, I guess you can go back and buy another one, but like the AOV is the LTV.
Right. Basically, right.
Yeah.
And so what we saw is since the April 16th to June 5th, I've scaled this account 87%. I've added $115,000 in ad spend in the last, April, May, but basically about 2.5 months. So 115 grand in 2.5 months. The 115 grand materialized into approximately $900,000.
Pretty good.
101% up to 1.7 million.
115,000 into 900,000 in sales. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, well, let's just do this. What was it before? I'm not good. Oh, February 24th through April 15th. So let's just look at February 24th to April 15th. It was 714. And now, so 714 up to 1721 million bucks.
$1 million. Okay.
Yeah. At $1 million into this account. And we can see there's the Vista up 119%. There's the Throne up 158%. $500,000 in Throne sales, this $5,000 hammock. And we did it all with these 4 campaigns.
Simple. But also CAC import on these, correct?
CAC import for first click. Exactly. So there's a little bit more advanced in there. But I mean, if you're like, hey, give me $1 million more in the next, 2.5 months, it's like, I'm going to do it with 2 campaigns. You're like, you're an idiot. It's like funnel build and that's working against what Meta wants.
Let me do level 1 through level 5 traffic. Just like it. That was the way 7 or 8 years ago, but not anymore.
That was the way up to last week.
Good point. And there's so many media buyers that are still doing it that way, which that's okay. But because this is a relatively new thing, like there is literally like a funnel inside of the ad set.
Yeah, not all accounts have even switched over to what we've been testing for months now. But hopefully, if you're a big fan of us and know that we're actually the best digital marketers in the history of the world, you're already there.
Well, it's
I'm just kidding.
It's sort of a given. I mean,
it's like no, we already were, John. Let's get into some Q&A.
Well, here's the thing: like we'll definitely get to the Q&A, but this is the stuff that's being tested and then shown. Mm-hmm. A lot of this is I have not seen this anywhere else. If you try and look for this anywhere on the interwebs, you're going to be hard pressed to find any sort of results like this. I think this is the kind of video you're going to look back on a year from now, like, wow, like that was so bleeding edge. And that's what we try and, I mean, not to like pump up our tires here, but I mean, this is the real stuff. This is actually how it works. But I mean, as an old school meta media buyer, like this has been something that's been promised for so long, and it's just so cool to see it actually happen. And it's like you're proving it, and you're not even doing it like any like fancy tricks like CAC import, a feeder strategy, or there's no data suite on these accounts. Like all of that stuff is like
I do a feeder strategy on Yellow Leaf, but the small one, I can't afford feeder strategy.
Yeah, not yet. You don't need to.
No. But it was funny, like you said, there's nothing out there. I did some hunting around for fun, and this is I got nerd giggly just because I'm a big nerd myself. But there's some people out there that are even doing this. Like this is a person from Grow My Ads 2 weeks ago, and he's like, there's this guy named John Moran. He launched a feeder strategy. He's like, how I scaled 109% in 22 days using feeder strategy, and he did like a 12-minute video on everything that I taught this guy how to do. I've never met this guy before. He just gave me a shout out on YouTube, and I was like, I'm famous. And it's fun for me because I'm a nerd.
You should have Google alerts for your name.
I know, right? That's probably a good idea. But it's interesting. It's like when you have the people I've never met before popping out testimonial videos on how it's working for them. It's like this is the leadership that we can provide.
Yeah,
you can't get this anywhere else.
Sorry to say it, but it is what it is. Like, we're just stating a fact here, John. Yeah. So anyway, pretty excited to be sharing this stuff with you every single week. So we've got a bunch of questions here. You want to get into questions? We're 3:05 right now.
Let's do it.
We've got 25 minutes of questions. If you want to get a question asked, definitely drop it in the comments. Let's get going. Brain Bite has a question. Hey, John, what's your take on vibe marketing? Seems like the new buzzword everywhere. It's just rebranded emotional marketing or something actually different. Would love your perspective.
I've never heard of vibe marketing, but I can probably, disseminate what they're trying to do there. What that would kind of tell me is that I would imagine it's more on the creative side where you're talking about happy, good vibes and making them feel very good. I mean, you should have an element to that. I call it philanthropy. So like if your company ever does good for something, you want to include that. So it's like, so people feel good about purchasing or engaging or making sure that they're working with companies they like. But I would like to learn more about the vibe marketing. I've just never actually heard of it yet.
Vibe marketing is a term describing a new approach to digital marketing that leverages AI to create and scale campaigns quickly and efficiently, focusing on emotional resonance and speed.
I was way off.
Well, no. Okay. You weren't too far off. Emotional resonance and speed.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. I think, what's interesting though, is that's kind of what we're seeing too. It's like, if I can make you feel warm and fuzzy about buying this product, you'll buy it.
Well, exactly like what we talked about. Like you uploaded 50 different ads with 50 different messages. You don't know which message is going to resonate with which person at what time. Like we used to sort of segment it out.
Exactly.
Creative is absolutely everything.
Yeah.
That's why we, bought a creative agency, like merged a creative agency, the best one that we could find on the planet, because we know creative is driving all this. Yes, we're talking about media buying strategies. We didn't even talk about the creative that's sort of behind the scenes here.
Right.
So super
And
important.
that's what's cool is we're having internal meetings about this so that when we do launch a new client or we launch a rebranding or we launch new ads, it's with this new model. Like we're already up to speed on what Meta wants us to leverage while people's accounts haven't even changed over yet.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. It's emotional resonance, I think, really, with just vibe marketing is all about.
Yeah.
Anyway, good question. John Moran, student from Spain.
Hey.
Hey, John, I'm planning to use your one campaign, one ad set, multiple ad strategy for plastic surgery clinics in Spain. Any recommendations how I should approach it?
Yes. You know what's funny is the multiple ad strategy. Your CPM is going to dictate what level of the funnel that you're going to engage with. So when you're talking about plastic surgery,
super important what you said there, by the way. Like when you launch that campaign, you'll see some CPMs will be vastly different. The ones that convert immediately are going to be your higher CPMs, and the ones that are sort of top of funnel, more like, feeder strategy, first click awareness, much less so. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're 100% right. What Meta was, the engineer I was speaking with Wednesday was saying
I had a brain seizure there for a second.
I did. I was like, was it yesterday? I said, I don't think his time well. And I'm like, I'm like, what did I do that day? That will tell me which day it was.
Right.
I was like, I had a meeting with them. That must have been a Wednesday. So Wednesday.
2 days ago.
Yeah. So they basically said that, and it's not 100% set in stone. Obviously, there's a lot of different variations, like, the industry, how much competitiveness and that kind of stuff. But generally, the higher the CPMs, the lower the funnel. And the higher the cost and lower the CPM means more awareness. Now you're not gonna look at that ad and be like, that's bad because someone saw me for the first time and didn't immediately get plastic surgery. That ad must suck. No, the more you can do yourself and your client a favor by not looking at an ad and say that didn't work because we assumed it didn't because Meta told us it may not have, the better off you'll be. If what you have to look is, let's just say Meta didn't exist. Let's say the internet didn't exist. And you brought your plastic surgeon in front of John Moran. And I said, hey, I'd like to get a tummy tuck. Is this good? And should I even do it? Name 10 things that you would want to share with me that would allow me to understand, gain my attention, gain my interest, and allow me to make a decision. Those are what you need to produce in creative. If it's a ton of UGC, I don't care. If it's, a ton of why I'm the best, doesn't help me. So that's where we have to look at is you're back to, your avatar development days of 2017 with Ryan Dice, where you're looking at what's important to them and why, and making sure that all of those are included. So 99% of your first job is going to be creative, and then the media buying will kick in later.
Yeah. If you didn't hear that, let's say that again. 99% of your job is creative. Was it 90 or 99?
99, really? Because it's like,
if you could say it. I was so stunned. I was like, 99?
It is. And here's how I got that. The 1% of your job is, can you launch a campaign with an ad set? You're done.
Yeah. If you can do that, you're a media buyer. Way to go. The hard part is everything before that.
And everything after that.
True.
Exactly. Because now you're going to be iterating on different creative types. We'll have all the stuff that as this progresses. Like step 1 is 99% creative. That's why I said the media buying is actually going to come after that.
It's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Like we're on the bleeding edge here. But like we've been saying this for a long time. Creative creates the audiences, but now creative creates the conversions.
Remember when I was like Mr. Tinfoil Hat when I'm like, Meta's getting rid of manual, and everyone's like, okay, John, sit down, you little weirdo. Stop scaring people.
Me saying that? No.
Not you. Like the industry. It was just like, my Meta rep said it wasn't. I'm like, tried launching a manual campaign. They're like, what? Yeah.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Stuart Little. I think this is the Stuart Little I know. How you doing, Stuart? Strategy for B2B healthcare equipment lead generation campaign. Okay. What platforms would work great? Also, what bid strategy do you use in initial stage on Google, and keyword types to use is LinkedIn. Types to use is LinkedIn good. Okay.
So thoughts? I would actually test Google first. Meta is you're okay with paying the haystack buying the haystack because you believe there's a lot of needles in there. Google is, I only want to pay for the suspected needles who are looking for me. So that's how to think about it. So I would start, not only, but I would start on Google first. And I would then run a Meta Advantage Plus campaign with bottom of the funnel remarketing type of content because you want it to remarket. It will do whatever it wants. The creative will dictate the targeting. So bottom of the funnel, make sure that your ad spend initially is 80-20, 80 on Google, 20% on Meta, because Meta can retarget, but also can go cold if it has too much money. So leave it choked a little bit. So it has to go warm. And then use bottom of the funnel content. So it also has to go warm. Now, on Google, you're going to look for things that are talking about the, you're trying to find qualifications. So B2B healthcare equipment's too broad. What I would look for is subsectioning that off into different product category types, and then having different campaign/ad groups looking for things like manufacturer, distributor, bulk, mass. You're trying to find the people who don't want a healthcare equipment like a radiology scanner. I don't even know if that's a thing, but now you're looking for things like healthcare. I am. I'm just pulling shit out of my ass.
MRI machine. I don't know.
Sure. I don't know. The scanner beeper. I don't know. Syringe. I'm just going to make up shit now. Yeah, that's that. So you're looking for like healthcare equipment manufacturers, healthcare equipment warehouses. You're looking at warehouses. Bad idea. Actually, don't do that one. I would actually just use ChatGPT, which is great for keyword research. Don't just paste it, but keyword research, saying if I was a company looking for this company, give me ideas of what they would search for, find the nuggets that are qualifications, and then use those to start. I would use manual bidding, bid high, like $10, $15, $20, $30 CPCs, but use low daily budgets so your risk exposure is low, and then test to see if your placements and your positioning are good. Remember, your CPC dictates the matched type of the search term to your keyword. Means that if you have a $5 bid on healthcare equipment, you get things like, why is my X-ray machine glitching? On a high CPC, you're going to get healthcare equipment manufacturer because those are coming in at $40 a matched click. Mm-hmm. So that's where you want to look at manual, high CPC, low daily budgets, going after qualified keywords. You find ideas on the ChatGPT, remarket them on Meta with bottom of the funnel content, start there.
I would recommend, we did a screen share on this from a call 2 weeks ago that we rebroadcast over on Perpetual Traffic that aired today. And it's the one where we actually go through how we use AI, and Nick's part on constructing Google campaigns using AI, specifically in the software space. I would go check that out on Perpetual Traffic. It may or may not be up
on a time.
Yeah, I just edited it like 40 minutes ago, so it might not be up yet. However, by the time this goes, keep refreshing. Perpetual Traffic, and it's how Tier 11 uses AI, and it's actually the first 20 minutes talk exactly about what you just talked about here. So super good question. All right. So Stuart Little's got a question here. Feeder strategy, does it work for B2B?
Yes. Now you have to have a high amount of conversions for it to work. And so feeder strategy is mainly in Google Ads to make sure that you're not overspending for only conversions, where Google's like, I'll sell you the click for $1, but I'll sell you the lead for $10. And that's because they're artificially increasing the CPC when they believe a person's going to convert. Now, if you're like, hey, I'm spending a lot of money, I got a lot of leads coming in, I'm using a T-ROAS and TCPA, looks like my goal is being met, it's hard to kind of grow and scale, that's when you would use feeder strategy. So making sure that you start to buy more traffic rather than just conversions to see if you can gain a 30%, 40% increase in your traffic for only a 5 to 10% more cost. That's where you're feeding it, maybe colder users. So yes, if you're in that situation, I would use it.
Makes sense. John Moran's dog is here every week, the most loyal follower of this show. Anyway, good to see John Moran's dog here. What are your thoughts on AI Max? Have you had a chance to test it, or do you see potential in it?
I have not had a chance to test it. I am super excited because I think AI Max is already doing what DSA and Broad Match are doing independently. So what you're basically, AI Max is just combining your Broad Match and your DSA together to have essentially, I want to go in this direction with these type of search terms. This is what my website looks like. Can you find relevance there and scale the relevance when you see conversions? I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you do a import from clicks. during this test because AI Max is going to feed itself whatever data it can find. If it finds bad data, it will feed itself bad data and it will scale bad data. If you are importing the conversions on only good quality leads or maybe some sales on some items you want, maybe you don't, make sure it can see only what you want it to see so it can try to grow and scale that. But if you're like, hey, I'm tracking like my add to carts, my big end checkouts, and my conversions, and you throw AI Max, your add to carts will blow up. I don't know what will happen after that. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but it's going to optimize for what it can get, like Performance Max. So just make sure that if you are doing import from clicks, server side's better. Make sure that you do that. But then yeah, I'm actually super excited because it's doing it anyway. And I like both. I like Broad Match to explore. I like DSA to also explore what I didn't think of. So I'm actually really excited. I just haven't had a chance to test it yet. I'm waiting to get access.
Yeah. Well, sounds like a Tier 11 Live or a Tier 11 Ad Lab show right there when you start testing it. John Moran's dog, once again, what's your best recommendation for encouraging clients with fixed monthly budgets to transition to a more flexible budget approach as long as their goals are being met?
Well, I would ask why. You said the key word there to me is their goals are being met. My question is, if their needs are being met, why change it? Now, it sounds probably stupid, but if we're saying change it from a fixed monthly budget to more flexible, do you need flexibility as sometimes they need to go up and down, or flexible as in I really want to get them to scale? There could always be reasons why they wouldn't want to, or not even maybe enjoy scaling. So I think I need a little bit more information about what flexible means to then tell you. But if you're like, hey, goals are being met, you kind of, you dotted that I and crossed that T,
Yeah.
What's the need?
Yeah.
I'm always goal based, and you're like, hey, we don't need any more goals. I'm like, then why change it?
Right. Just keep going. Just keep cruising. Yeah. John Moran's dog, what approach do you recommend for analyzing and determining the most effective budget split between Meta and Google with the channel mix tailored to different industries and client profiles? Good question.
Yeah. So this one, you're talking about MMM. So we don't have enough time to fully explain MMM because there's so much involved. I mean, Northbeam charges, I think, 80 grand for MMM models. So we're talking about like a 10-person study. But the theory of it is, and what we always try to achieve, in any MMM, I don't do it for Northbeam, but I do it, as a standard operating procedure for how I omni-channel market.
Sure.
But you're looking at benchmarking your attributable sales. You should have data suite because that will also demystify a lot of the overlap. And almost forget everything you knew about conversion tracking and platform and said, if I couldn't track a conversion here, would I still make those ad spend increases and decreases to these audiences? Then you kind of see like, oh, you know what? Like I wouldn't add a lot more money into brand if 80% of them are my returning customers. Like maybe I don't just hemorrhage all my cash there. Maybe I don't waste all my profitability on the last step. ROAS is 12 million, but is it actually helping? So that's where you have to kind of think about it. But that's the kind of the basis of it is, where's my cold traffic? Where is my awareness? Is it an established industry? Is it not? Do I need to build an audience or can I capture one? Those are all things that we're talking about that go into MMM. But that's the thing, is almost like humanizing your marketing again without the data and then analyzing the data from the top side on the other side.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. Soren Tutu has a question here. I don't think he's seen him on this show before. I'm having a hard time understanding why Meta is attributing so many conversions, sometimes even more than the total number of orders in the back end of Shopify. How can we judge based on that?
Yep. So I almost exclusively now, whenever I possibly can, or as fast as I can get the client switched over, I move into CAP imports off of first click server side, edge-based deployment. Now, Meta is model data. It means this is what they believe happened. So they may believe that more or less than what actually happened did happen, which is why it's not a great representation of the growth of your company and not even a real great representation of the efficiency of all of your marketing. What it is trying to estimate is how efficient is it at that stage of the funnel. Now, when you have one campaign and the entirety of your ads into one campaign, it's still going to be model data. Even if you import it, it's still going to be model data.
However, the first 20 minutes or so, we showed this, how you are using that with a very small Google ad spend, and you're double checking it with the CRM or with Shopify, the backend.
Exactly. So you always want to have multiple points of triangulation, is they all will be different, but if all of them are 20% better, hey, there you go.
Fire away.
That's, you're looking at, I don't care what the number is. I care if the number goes up or down.
Yeah, that's it. That's a very good answer to that question, because there's a lot of aspects to that you could go down the whole rabbit hole. It's like why it works the way that it works. But just to taking a step back, like if you're not like the example that we use in the first part of today's show, I think is a great one, because there's basically two channels that you're using. You're using Meta, you're using Google, tiny ad spend on Google, not a huge ad spend on Meta. However, like how much of a percentage of Meta, what you're seeing inside Meta, take out CAPI imports, because that's a whole other thing, is model data. What's your estimation?
I would say about actually only 10 to 15%.
Okay.
It's very, very good. Honestly, when we CAPI import, they're usually on like 20, they're usually 2 off. If it's like 50, they're usually like 5 to 6 off. So it's about 10 to 15%.
That is so far down than what it used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be almost 40, 50%, especially after the 2021 iOS 14 debacle. Like nobody knew. And it was like you lost 70% of your data overnight. And then the model data came back and it was like 40 or 50%. And it still was missing a lot. So 10 to 15% isn't really that bad.
Makes you wonder how much privacy violations are actually producing in the back end that you don't know of.
That is true. Yeah.
All right. If I was Zuck, I'd do it.
What does he have to lose at this point, really?
I mean, when your network starts with a B, who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Go down a couple of B's. No.
Oh darn! I can't buy another, planet.
Yeah, right. Can't go to that moon or something. Speaking of B's, buy the best drone as a question. I have a search account where broad match does not work at all. It's TCPA, but cannot scale due to volume. We still want more leads from competitors. Have you done feeder with no broad? I wonder if he sells drones.
Yeah. So broad match, when it doesn't work at all, there's two things. It's either not enough data, or not enough ad spend, or not enough time. Now, all three of those are not mutually exclusive to each other. So when you look at the broad match does not work at all, what I would say is, first, most often maximized conversions for sometimes 30 to 45 days is needed before a TCPA can even help increase efficiency. TCPA will never scale. Not if you actually are trying to hit a target. TCPA is a restrictive bidding strategy that tells Google, unless you know or you very, very highly think that Ralph is going to convert right now, don't bid on him. So the reason why TCPA cannot scale is because maybe there has not been enough time for that campaign to run on maximized conversions to explore all the different search terms and keywords and CPCs and positionings that it needs to understand where it can and cannot go. That's very expensive. Or you leave it on max conversions with low budget for longer. You're buying the data either with high amount of ad spend and short amount of time, or low amount of ad spend for longer, but you need to buy the data one way or the other. Right. Do what you can afford. Then after broad match starts to work and then you are optimizing everything else, the last step of the funny is, okay, everything looks good. Throw a TCPA on there and I'll see you next week. Like then now it just should run. But TCPA is the last step. It's never the first step.
Yeah, makes sense.
Casey Snow has a question here. I think Casey's new to the show. Have you tested incremental attribution in Meta?
Yes, and that was actually one of the worst performing campaigns I've ever seen. In Data Suite, it had some of the lowest cold traffic, 22, compared to our average of 41, and had 2/3 returning customer and 1/3. Now, I will new customers. However, I will say that the nCAC was very, very good. It just wouldn't scale because it was targeting too much returning. So I think whatever it's trying to work on to get new customers to buy, that has increased. However, it is not taking any steps to have existing customers not buy. So that's just know that it's very good at getting a sale, but it's even better at getting a sale on new and returning. So it's not incremental. It's just more of what it's doing.
How much have you tested it? Like
20 grand and 2 different campaigns.
Okay.
Yeah. But after it beat my nCAC, but couldn't scale and got more returning customers than anything else, I only can work with what scales, because that's what I'm trying to do in most of the accounts.
Right. That's what we do.
Exactly.
Grow businesses. All right. John Moran's dog back with another question, just because he's our favorite, because he is John Moran's dog. We will answer this question. I have a client interested in testing YouTube ads. Would you recommend YouTube demand gen or a combination with a focus on both brand awareness and conversions?
So demand gen's okay. I actually have a test where I ran CAPI import or import from clicks on demand gen. Got 27 returning for 9 new. My 9 new cost me a $900 per CPA, where the account total is usually $250 per CPA, or nCAC, I should say. So demand gen, I have not figured out yet for like bottom of the funnel, but YouTube works very well if you are using an import from clicks model and still using sequencing. That still is some of the best thing today. Testing YouTube ads is very scary because demand gen seems to target 50 to 60% website traffic, who sometimes could be your existing customers, or sometimes can just be really good remarketing. But incrementality from demand gen is seldomly the case. So unless you are knowing that you can test the incrementality, whether in platform on import from clicks or top line nCAC metrics, be very weary of demand gen. However, the funny enough flip side, the sequencing campaigns that rarely ever show a conversion have some of the most one-to-one ratio of increase in spend and increase in attributable first-time revenue globally that I've seen ever. So it's funny. If you measure in platform, you're going to hate sequencing, but if you measure nCAC, you're going to love sequencing.
Yeah, there is a YouTube live that we are a tier 11 live that we did. Like that, we've done multiple ones on that. So go back through the catalog there and try and find that one. I think they're all titled. So
I think
I'm
so,
not mistaken. But yeah, we don't have time to go through it here. But anyway, great question. Tyler Cohen has multiple questions here. Real estate client wants to get more home seller leads through Google Ads. What do you think through strategy? And then, demand gen versus YouTube. He's got that. Maybe we can sort of hit all these at once.
Yeah, I'll see if I can roll through them. All right. So first question, want to get more sell leads to Google Ads? I would actually use still a broad match, small amount of keywords because there's 1,000 different search terms for small broad match keyword. Yeah. So I would still use broad match keywords on a small amount of them. And then I would make sure that they are not wildly different because there's a whole different variations that people type into Google when you're talking about motivated seller leads, like sell my home fast, sell my house fast, sell my property, sell my, those type of things are always randomly different, but they all are about the same broad match keyword. So keep your keyword strategy small. Difference between demand gen and YouTube. Demand gen is like PMAX for video. YouTube, when you're looking at non-conversion based bidding, non-video action campaigns, are more like you pick your target, pick your audience, pick your exclusions, go. So your mileage may vary. Do you need more retargeting kind of blended, or are you trying to attack an audience hard? Those are the difference between demand gen and YouTube. The next thing is wants to get more home seller leads to Google. Okay, we did that one. That was actually a copy paste from the 1 2 above there. It looks like. Yeah. What's the difference between demand gen? Okay, we already did that one. Maybe it's just duplicating. Grateful to you both for generosity, giving away so much game for free.
Happy to help. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Tyler. All right, Stuart Little, one more question here. Can you explain your first click import data post on LinkedIn to a PPC beginner?
Oh, yeah. So I posted on LinkedIn the importance of first click import, first click imports. And so this is a beginner type of beginning thought process. I'm just going to use paint, like paint. This is the theory there. So we have videos on like import from clicks. I don't want to give away trade secrets, obviously, because this is something that is like revolutionary for us. And so I'm not just going to tell every tech company how to clone our product, but we have a very unique way of gathering the first click and then kind of backdating it through the history of time. But what's interesting about this is if you have two users, just imagine two stick figures. This is user one, user one. This is user one as well. So this is two visits from the same person. Meta may see this and Google may see this as user number one and may incorrectly think this is user number two, because we already know that Meta and Google are bad at fingerprinting, especially after like 3 days. Right. So the import from clicks means that if user two, as opposed to what Meta thinks or Google thinks is user two, clicks on something and buys something, I don't want to necessarily import that as a import here because this is a different G-CLID. This one here, user one, is actually user two. They have a different G-CLID. However, this G-CLID didn't do anything. So when the second click from user one buys, I import user one's first click because it'll actually attribute to a different campaign because they're actually a different user in type of Meta's brain or Google's brain because they don't know it's the same person. So when the same person takes a second action, I import the first action's click. That's as beginner as I can make it.
That's it.
That's the dumbed down version.
And that's some beautiful artwork. We got one last question from Casey Snow.
Let's do it.
When you have diverse content on Advantage Plus and you're not meeting goal, do you kill the top ads getting spent, or you just launch new ads to find new winners? That's a good question.
My question is, have you given this 30 days before touching it? I didn't. I was painfully not touching things for 3 weeks, and it went from to okay, good. Wow, this is amazing.
And all right, the one that we showed in the beginning part of the show.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I thought
I uploaded everything and just let it ride for a month.
Okay.
Crazy, right?
And no data for the first 3 weeks, you said?
The first week I had 2 ads with all the spend and only click attributed.
Right.
Second week, I started to see it trickle down. Third week, almost 3/4 of my ads had 1 or at least, well, actually 2 click attributed conversions.
Yep.
All happened in 3 weeks without touching anything.
Okay. So
The
that was
week
like
four-
May
week four, I
14th
doubled the
to
budget.
May 20th, as I recall. And then it was 21 to 28.
And then May 28th to June 6th, I doubled the budget.
Got it. So,
Yeah.
all right. Go watch the recording of the first 20 minutes or so. That'll blow your mind.
There you go.
Anyway, speaking of blowing our minds, we appreciate you guys coming on. You got it. Stuart, everyone, for coming on today's show and asking questions. Super appreciate it. That's why we do what we do every single week. And I want to say Tier 11 Live, but I haven't gotten the go ahead from the marketing department to announce the new name yet. Maybe it was announced when I was in Italy. I don't know.
Maybe.
But anyway, we're still here.
Welcome to Tier 11's Meth Lab.
The Meth Lab. Here we are in the RV with Heisenberg.
Walter White. Yeah. Heisenberg. Yeah, we have a new name coming out that's going to have lab in it. So I've just been jokingly calling it the Meth Lab because I'm a little crazy.
That's right. We're just cooking stuff in the Meth Lab. All right. Well, We're here every week, 2:30 Eastern. Make sure you come back next week. We'll have some fresh round of learnings from the Meth Lab.
Fresh round of creatives, hot off the oven.
That's right.
The Meth Lab.
Hot buttered creatives. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We will see you next week.
Sounds good, everybody. Bye-bye.